you with fire protection via San Anselmo, Fairfax. Those houses are still there, and they're still in this funny limbo, because the straightforward thing for them to do is to vote to annex to San Anselmo. They don't choose to do that. You can guess at what their reasons are, and we take their fire tax money and we provide them through the fire houses here in San Anselmo and Fairfax with fire protection. 40 of them, if there was a map here, I could show you where they are. But that is how it's happening. That is why our boundary is different from Sleepy Hollow's boundary. As I say, if I was out there in the map, you can see this little pocket down there. And yes, question.
Well, Frank, before you do, let me just, Betsy, to answer your question, I believe there's 41 houses. They are all on, in the area of the Alameda, starting at about number 500, I believe, on the Alameda and upwards, as well as Quail Way and Oak Crest Road. And then there's one at the end of Michael Court and Timothy Court each. Yeah, they're all on the western boundary of our district, just before you enter the gates of Sleepy Hollow.
Thank you.
Eastern.
Yeah. Eastern boundary.
Eastern? Okay.
Do I have the floor?
I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm Bob Wilson, 28 Dutch Valley Lane. On your annual report for the fire district, if you can pull it up on your computer and display it. I don't know if you can.
Oh, I can't, not Wi-Fi.
Okay, well, they have a map of
Right.
the district. It includes Ross, San Anselmo, Fairfax, and basically that's it.
That's the service area for the Ross Valley Fire Department.
Exactly.
We're one of 4 member agencies of that department. So yes, our subset of that is our little district, which is all of what is considered to be Sleepy Hollow plus the 41 houses that are on the fringe of Sleepy Hollow. Thanks.
Yes.
I'd like to ask for clarification on the presentation. This isn't a comment. It's a clarification on what's been presented today. I didn't, just to be clear, Director Berto, you're saying that the homes outside of the Sleepy Hollow boundary do not pay taxes in San Anselmo?
I do believe they pay county taxes because they're not in San Anselmo. They're in the county of Marin.
Okay, and the other clarification is about the Red Cross statement that you made earlier, which was, as you say, it's the intention of the Fire Protection District, it's the intention of the Fire Protection District to enter into a pre-disaster agreement with the Red Cross. And you said that there was a misinterpretation of the minutes from November 27th, 2013. So I just want to read the section that you say is being misinterpreted. And, you know, to clarify whether this misinterpretation has to do with what was said or how the notes were written. Director Shortall also stated that the clubhouse would be designed to function as a public shelter in the event of emergencies. He said that under mutual aid principles, emergency users would not be limited to district residents. However, Director Shortall stated that the clubhouse would not likely qualify as a designated shelter, staffed and supported by the Red Cross. So you're referring to the clubhouse, the clubhouse is capitalized here in this same paragraph in 3 sentences, and you're saying that the first 2 sentences are about the future of the clubhouse, whereas the third sentence, Director Shortall stated that the clubhouse would not likely qualify as a designated shelter. That is though about the current clubhouse, where the 2 sentences before that are about the future clubhouse. So that's a little unclear. Director Shortall stated that the clubhouse would be designated to function as a public shelter. That emergency users would not be limited to district residents, and that the clubhouse would not likely qualify as a designated shelter. So are you saying that you're referring to the clubhouse currently or the clubhouse in the future?
I think I was very clear on that. Our intention is crystal clear for the
Right.
future of this
Your
building.
intention, though, is not what the Red Cross's intention is necessarily.
You know, this won't be a back and forth. I think I was very clear what I said. My comments at that meeting, which I made clear, had to do with the fact that this building is not a county designated shelter right now, nor is a Red Cross designated shelter. That is this building. What should be of interest to everybody, and what matters, and what we've been talking about for months now, and been very clear and written about, so there's no mystery about it, is that we are going forward with a very clear direction here. We want the new facility to meet all the Red Cross standards, to be accepted as a shelter, to have an agreement with them, and to do regular training and exercises for the people out here in this community. That's what matters. That's really simple to understand. That's very straightforward.
Next one.
Rich, I understand it, thank you.
That's one person.
Well, I think we should hold on for 1 second. I think we want to conduct a meeting in a respectful fashion. I don't think that's respectful.
Yeah.
What I said was that?
No, I'm sorry. I'm speaking to Bruce. I think what Bruce said was not respectful. I think we need to respect everybody has an opportunity. Let's leave it at that. Thank you.
Massive.
Okay, let's go on. The next issue that was brought up is whether or not the Sleepy Hollow Fire Protection has basically abandoned its traditional role in providing services. If anything, I believe we expanded the role. If you look back in the history of this, mostly what was done was simply paying for the contract with the town of San Anselmo to fire protection services. We're doing much more than that now. We had a presentation from John Hanley about Youth to Work. And that Youth to Work was out there repairing fire roads, which we are paying for. We have paid almost every year over the last several years to have what's called the TAM Fire Crew go out and create essentially defensible space for fire roads around the ridges of Sleepy Hollow. Some of that is on the border of open space, some of it's not. One problem with open space is we don't own open space. We didn't own that land before, and the fire district did not go out there and maintain that land before. It's not our land, it's open space land. Unfortunately, there's a lot of controversy with some of the positions of the open space district relative to clearing of fire roads and keeping it fire safe. We are on record, I believe, as saying that we want to do all we can to make sure that our fire roads are maintained in good condition. We have been paying where we can to help make that happen. We'll be continuing to do that, and the proof is in the pudding. We just paid for an expensive repair on a fire road out here. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to work with the TAM Fire Crew. We have not abandoned our responsibility for this. We have increased our participation in these programs. The second one has to do with fire flow. And this has been briefed about it online in our response. But basically, all of you do pay to improve fire flow in Sleepy Hollow. When Chief Hansen was here, he's talking about a program that your tax dollars are paid for, where the money goes directly to MMWD. And it's MMWD, Marin Municipal Water District, that is responsible for the pipes in the ground, not the Sleepy Hollow Fire Protection District. What we have done is work with them and the fire department to determine areas where it makes sense to add an extra fire hydrant if to improve fire protection, or to update a fire hydrant because it needs a new one or whatever. We've done that in the past. We'll continue to do that, and once again, look what happened at today's meeting. It came in, we asked for it, well, I'll take the resolution to the next meeting, but you see where we're going with it. That is hardly an abandonment of services. Disaster manual is left to the Sleepy Hollow Homes Association. We've never said that. I don't know where that statement comes from. I have talked quite a bit at meetings, and you'll see a lot of it on the website, that my personal interest is in community preparedness. Because I think community preparedness is the best type of preparedness. Individuals nice, government can only do so much. Community preparedness programs are the most effective for making us safe. I very much intend to see us work to produce our own disaster manual, which we will put out to every member of the community. We're happy to work with the homeowners association so that we can add material to anything that they would put out, but we are not abdicating our responsibility on this. And part of the proof of that is take a look at the document that you can get in the mail in a few days, which is the fire safe document out there. This is the kind of work we're doing. This is the kind of work we'll keep doing. There is no abandonment of service here. PG&E responsibility for utility hazards. I just gave a big report on that. Bottom line is, we don't run the gas system, we don't want to run the electric system. We are interested in making sure that they're doing the best they can for us. I've reported on that. I want to make sure that the fire department thinks that they're doing the best they can. We all believe that right now. To the extent, and I appreciate whatever may need to go forward, if there's something more that needs to be done on that, great, but right now, I think people are working very well together. We have a good system. We are not abrogating our responsibilities. We don't maintain the natural gas lines or the overhead utility lines. Mira, I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes, but we are actually very interested in MIRA, which is the Marin Emergency Radio Authority. I'll be briefing that out quite a bit on the next slide, I think. But we do care about that, and we do care about public safety communications. But again, we need to be clear what's our responsibility and what isn't. So when you consider today's presentations, we talked about fire flow and hydrants, funding it, chipper date, funding it, customized prevention brochure, funding it, fire road repair, funding it, new websites, PG&E, and soon to be MIRA. I think it is not true to say that we are abandoning our services. We're expanding our role going forward. Okay, question about that.
So, about 10 years ago when I was president of the Home Association, I did have the privilege of republishing the phone book with the disaster manual, which I think is one of the most important resources that the Home Association provides its members. And I really appreciate your commitment, Rich, that the fire district is not going to abandon services. But I want to ask kind of the flip side of that, and that is, as the fire district considers a partnership or agreement with the Home Association, do you intend to actually also look at enhancing the services of the fire district in partnership with the Home Association? Because community preparedness is, as Frank said, emergency response are really key goals and strategies for the fire district, but they also are shared with the Home Association, particularly in terms of disaster preparedness. So as you go forward to consider whether to invest in a partnership with the Home Association, do you intend to actually also look at how that partnership can enhance the fire district services as well?
Yes, is the short answer to that. In fact, in the agreement that we work out with the Homes Association, one of our conditions for that agreement is in fact going to be that the Homeowners Association, both as an association and as the manager or whatever of the facility, is going to need to step up to the plate to support community preparedness programs. I am confident that they're going to want to do that, but we are going to hold them to that. More than that, and there's a lot of discussion of this in the 14-page analysis out there, a new facility properly designed here is actually going to make it much easier to organize community preparedness programs that we'd like to see happen. Right now, it's not the ideal situation, and sadly, we really don't have much going on out here at all. We really want to change that. There was a lot of discussion of that. And going forward, we believe that the partnership will provide great benefit for community preparedness for everybody. That's the right point to bring it.
Yeah, and Rich, to that point, to your point, as a current board member, we definitely need to update the disaster manual, so it's on my plate, and I'm going to work with Rich to actually do it.
Great, thank you.
All right. So emergency communications. I got to give a little bit of my background on this because this is I have to put my geek hat on for this thing, really. As most of you know, I was the deputy director of the San Francisco Office of Emergency Services for several years, and in fact, my office was in the 911 Communication Center in San Francisco. There's a lot of people working in the field of emergency communications there. They love what they do. They love to talk about what they do, and it took me a long time to get up to snuff with them to try to learn all about simulcast zones and smartcasts and talk groups and on and on and on and on. But sitting with them every day, I did learn a lot about it, and it is a very interesting topic. From there, I went on to become the general manager of the Bay Area Homeland Security Grant, which is a program. And I went through, I think I spent about, I say I, because I was the manager, about $80 million in a few years. Our top priority for funding was emergency communication systems and all. So many of the regional programs that are in place right now that are big improvements, what was there before, were really funded by the grant program that I helped found out there. So I worked quite a bit with people, and that meant that I had to be aware of how these programs worked and what we were funding, because I had to sign off on all these grants. And currently, I represent the Ross Valley Fire Department on the governing board of MIRA, which is the Marin Emergency Radio Authority. So I go to their meetings, I hear what's going on, I feel I'm pretty up to date on what they're doing out there. It is geeky stuff, and so I'm going to kind of try to stay away from all the technical jargon and just go to some big points about this. And I don't want to have an extensive back and forth about the minutiae of technical detail. I'll take somebody offline if they want to talk about that. I just want to make the big points. MIRA, the Marin Emergency Radio Authority, it's a radio system for public safety personnel. I don't go on it. I'm not a public safety personnel. Communications, our community center would not have a MIRA radio. That's not what it's set up for. It's for fire, police, public works, that type of thing. Our current system needs replacement. It's old, they have about a 25-year life expectancy. It needs to be replaced. You're going to get a chance to vote on that. We took a position of supporting it. I hope the vote passes. I know it's a little bit controversial, but we really need a new system. It's aging. This is pretty important. There is no RFP, request for proposal. That is the exact technical details of the new system. It's called Next Generation. The RFP has not been produced for that yet. So comments about it's not going to be this and it's not going to be that and all the rest of it are really not founded on an existing document. But there have been policy principles put forward by the governing bodies and so forth. You can read about a lot of this and go on their website if you really want to have fun with 700 megahertz and all this other crazy stuff. This is called the Marin Emergency Radio Authority Next Generation Radio System Implementation with feasibility study on there. You can download it. A lot of what I say is going to be in here. But the policy direction at this point is for there to be complete compliance with all the federal and regional specifications for a modern, efficient, wonderful radio system for our public safety personnel. It will comply with or exceed all the standards, P25, 700 megahertz, on and on and on. That's the direct policy direction. The MIRA system will be fully interoperable, and what that means is, everybody's heard about this before, you have a big fire in Marin County, you know, the fire department comes from Santa Clara. If they come up here, can they talk on their radios to the people here? That's what interoperable communications is basically all about, because they don't do it day to day. There already is an interoperable, beginnings of a completely interoperable system in the Bay Area. The new system will be completely interoperable, so any public safety personnel who come in here will be able to get on our system, we'll all be able to talk to each other. The system is a redundant system. It's not a couple of towers that if the tower falls down, the whole thing falls apart. Works with microwave, towers all over the hills here, repeaters, backup generators, on and on and on. There's a lot of redundancy. Parts of the system can fail. Towers can fall down, the system can still work. It can degrade the effectiveness of the system, but it can work. In fact, the whole system can collapse, and the handheld portable radios, at least in line of sight, can still talk to each other. So it has a lot of backup to the system. That's how they built it. A statement was made that it only has 3 days of fuel. I just met, as a matter of fact, with this past week with a couple people from MIRA. I went over all the stuff with them to make sure I got it right. And in fact, they have 9 days of emergency fuel. They just did a test on all that. MIRA is a member of something called BayRICS. That was one of the things that was set up when I was doing the Homeland Security Grant programs. And basically, it's a 13-member joint powers authority. It's made up of the counties and some of the big cities that surround the Bay Area out here. It's meant to work together to create interoperable communications and share standards and share specifications of how things should be done. Marin County has a seat on their governing board, and Marin County has a seat on their technical committees, and some people who used to work for Marin County are actually full-time employees of the project. So Marin County, through its representation, is very supportive of Bay Rigs, very involved in it, and supports the specifications they come up with. A program that was asked about is something called FirstNet. FirstNet is a program, it's a relatively new federal program. It hasn't been built yet. The goal of the program really has to do with sharing data. It's not primarily about voice beating. You see the firefighter out there in the walkie-talkie talking to each other. This is really data. Certainly fire departments use data, everybody does, but obviously police departments move a lot more data, checking files and all these types of things. It's a really good concept, and it's the funding is kind of unique because what they call auction spectrum. There's all this radio spectrum, and they auctioned a bunch of it, and they got some money for it, so it's kind of exciting. It's not built. It's supported by Bay Rigs. It's supported by the Marin County representatives who are on the Bay Rigs committee, but it's not here yet. When it comes, it's going to be a while. It's not a simple system. There's going to be a ton of work that needs to go into it. It's not the same as the Mira radio system. This is really a system primarily for data. Primarily for data. In the documents that I put on the website a while ago are announced things. On there, I briefed 12 communication systems that will be in the center if this facility is built. I was questioned in a letter about the accuracy of what's in there. I stand by 100% what is written on there. It's very simple. It doesn't overpromise. I don't say any of these things is the magic answer. There's qualifiers on lots of things, and basically it's an effort to just give a very 1 or 2 sentence explanation of how these things work. There's no statement on my part that these things are infallible, so you need to understand that. But I ran by our communication program, by the people at Mira, who do this for a living, who are responsible for these kinds of programs. They're extremely impressed with what we're planning to do. There's a lot of redundancy to it. There's a lot of good things in there. There's a lot of positives as well. Every one of them has pros and cons, but when you have a whole bunch of them, layer upon layer upon layer of redundancy, that's how you start building up a robust communication network. One of the suggestions is that we look into something called the Zayo fiber optic loop. This is kind of interesting. I spoke not only to the Mira people about this, I spoke to the Zayo representative a couple times about this, and I spoke to Mark Thornton, who is the head of the Marin Telecommunications Agency, which is responsible for fiber optic systems and so forth that are in the county, also Comcast and all those types of things. So we talked about it. Fiber is a fairly simple concept. It's a cable. It can be in the ground, it can be up in the air. In this case, there are cables in the ground. They're really cool. They can move massive amounts of data. Amazing. They're exciting. This particular one was put in to serve one customer, which is George Lucas. George Lucas Studios, everybody knows how they work. They make the Star Wars movies. They need to share vast amounts of data. They have facilities all over the place. You need something like this for that to happen. Doesn't mean that's the only thing it can ever be used for, but that's what it was made for. It's what they call dark fiber. And dark fiber means it's basically just the cable in the ground. To light it up, as they like to say, basically you got to put a third party, not them, has to put power in the system. You have to have the equipment on either end of it, the computers, whatever you're using. You have to have the applications that you can use on those computers. You have to have protocols for using all the stuff. You have to have people there. You have to, it's